basically all religion, certainly all, regardless of the evidence, we are going that you can't see. That's like half the world. Person kind of leaves the majority and starts doing or believing things that the majority doesn't. So the interesting thing is that even though she's saying, even in the bit, the only thing that we use to call her delusion is she actually did something. She did actions that the rest of Mormons versus what we call just normal religion and religious delusion. So it's like the people who say these when it's a large religion, but when you break it down, it all sounds pretty culty. Like we all call it normal that Catholics God and eat his flesh to imbue his magical power. But if there was a cult of like 10 peeing the symbolic blood of a god to imbue magical power, we would be like, oh, that's weird, that's a cult. And so with time and scale, so religious psychosis is different. It is a state of psychosis where the hallucinations and the delusions and the disorganized thinking is religious in nature. And then disinhibited religious behavior like public nudity, fasting till you're almost, fasting to death, attempting resurrection. And this usually occurs in or temporal lobe epilepsy and some kind of neurological illness. So religious psychosis is when they are in a symptom like a cough, and religious psychosis is like a syndrome or an certainty, be incongruent with cultural norms. So you can't diagnose someone with delusion for holding mainstream views. They have to be like different than the cultural norm. And then cause impairment in totally normal human behavior. Eat the body of a god. Talk to that god on a Sunday, but that's just religious. But if you eat the body of a god and you talk Monday because you feel like your neighbor has demons, you don't want to leave the house or something like that. But the beliefs are essentially the same between normal religious people and people with religious delusion or even people in religious psychosis. So let's look at Lori now. What we see are two kind of underlying full religious psychosis as a syndrome that she is now in all of the time. So first, Lori does have some underlying mental, maybe some cluster B, maybe even schizophrenia. There's something there that we can see from a young age. So from a young age, she was known as being very image conscious, very charismatic, and she was all